What is up, everyone? I'm Chris and we're Emily Sauce, and today we'll be doing our first JoJo Bizarre Adventure What If. Today we'll be talking about a timeline where things happen differently. We all know Joseph Joestar and how he used his smarts and tricks to be able to send cars into space, as he ended up victorious. But what if things had played out differently? What if Cars, when escaping the volcano, instead of cutting Joseph's hand off, what if he went for a killing blow like cutting Joseph's head off? We'll be looking into how the JoJo Bizarre Adventure timeline would change and what if Cars won against Joseph. Now this what if would be a bit different than our normal ones, as in this video we'll be exploring the different timelines on this what if. There will be a dark ending and a more happy ending. Also, thank y'all so much for letting us reach 2,000 subscribers, so we'll be working on the next what if special after this one comes out. Obviously, before we go into the video, there will be spoilers ahead from part 2 to part 5 in JoJo. So if you haven't caught up, don't really, I wouldn't suggest watching this if you haven't caught up. But anyways, let's get right into the bad ending, which Cars would win. Now we will start right off after Joseph and Stroheim are at the volcano and believe that they have beaten Cars, and this is where the timeline changes to a darker one. Joseph would head to Stroheim to lift him up as they are still celebrating the defeat of Cars, but then instead of Cars cutting off Joseph's hand, Joseph in this alternate timeline isn't so lucky, as Cars sliced through the rock, which ended up decapitating Joseph as his body flops into the ground, lifeless, as Stroheim lays there in complete fear and shocked, as Earth's last hope was dead. Cars would be mildly upset for accidentally killing Joseph too early, but it doesn't matter to him. As much as he sees Stroheim, he instantly kills him as well. Cars would then head to the group, as the German army and Lisa would try to put up a fight, but no one was a match for Ultimate Cars, as he easily slaughters them all besides Lisa. Speedwagon, Smokey, and Lisa all ask what happened to JoJo, as Cars just laughs, saying that JoJo was slain, as everyone was shocked and filled with fear. Lisa, being the last fighter, tried to stop Cars, but Cars just ended up piercing her in the chest with his blade, as this kills her. Speedwagon tries to tell Smokey to run, but Cars kills Smokey before he could go, as it was just Speedwagon alone. Cars instills more fear into Speedwagon, as he tells him that afterwards he will find Arena and enter as well. Speedwagon tries to punch Cars, but Cars would chop off Speedwagon's hand as he left him there to bleed out and suffer. Cars would then lead to find Arena, as he would kill her as well. After all that, he would show to the entire world his power as he begins slaughtering everyone in planet Earth. People would try to oppose Cars, but they would only end up being killed by Cars with ease. A couple of years would pass as Cars would have murdered a good chunk of the population, but let's say by the slim chance Dio has been found and awakened. Dio would be roaming around the streets wondering what had happened to the world, as if it has become a bigger dump than when he was last around. He sees a TV screen where it shows Cars as the news reporter talks about how Cars was destroying the world for the last couple of years, as this would anger Dio, as he would want to end Cars' rule to make it his own. But then he is also reminded of the Joestars, as he touches the back of his neck, remembering Jonathan, as he goes on for the hunt for the Joestars as well, even though right now he doesn't really know that the bloodhound has already ended by Joseph. Some years would pass as Dio has learned the fact that the Joestar bloodline is gone forever. He's happy about that, but also is upset that it wasn't himself who had done it. At this point, Dio would have his stand the world, but his group of followers would be much less, as he only has Pet Shop, Vanilla Ice, the Darby Brothers, Whole Horse, Steely Dan, Nindual, Oingo and Boingo, and Anya the Hag. With Dio's power, he believed that he was strong enough to easily handle Cars. Anya the Hag would try to warn him, telling him that he shouldn't be too hasty. Dio then goes close to her, asking her menacingly if she doesn't believe in him to take out Cars. This leaves her in a frozen position, as Dio and all of his followers would head out to go take out Cars altogether. Some days would pass to the point where Dio faced Cars, as he challenged him, saying that he will kill him and take his rule for himself. Then all of Dio's followers would charge in to go face Cars, and obviously they can take him out because they have the advantage in numbers. Or so y'all think. Cars would make a massacre with everyone in Dio's group, as some of them can't even do anything to Cars, and any injuries Cars would take, he can just heal up instantly to the point where nothing happened. After a short period of time, most of them were killed, and the only ones left would be Pet Shop, Vanilla Ice, Nduel, and Dio. Cars would end up getting ready to fight, but then he hears destruction and is right as he sees nothing but parts of his surrounding being destroyed, and before he can do anything, half of Cars' body is erased. Vanilla Ice then shows up as he bows down to Dio, saying that their job is done, and Cars is no longer. As Dio just laughs, saying that he didn't even use his stand, the world, but then as Dio looked again, he sees Vanilla Ice falls to the ground, with a hole in his chest, as Cars is completely healed up. Dio is a bit caught off guard, but he keeps his composure. Cars then is ready to fight Dio, but then he is impaled with various ice shards, as then Nduel and Pet Shop work together using their stance powers together to greatly injure Cars. But then Pet Shop gets impaled by one of his own ice shards, as Pet Shop dies right then and there. Then Dio sees purple spiky rope-like things around Cars' arm, and yes, Cars developed his own stand, which would be Hermit Purple, since all Hamon users would just end up having Hermit Purple, so Cars would just have Hermit Purple as well. Cars is amazed about his newfound power that he has never noticed until now. He would see the water that is attacking him, but then he would dodge it, growing wings to get away, as Nduel then loses Cars. Cars starts flying around until he spots Nduel, as Dio would try to warn Nduel, but it would be too late as Cars pierces into his chest as he falls over and dies. Dio is now all by himself, as his whole small army fell with little to no difficulty, as this gets Dio upset as he activates his stand to stop time, as the world attacks Cars, leaving many wounds on Cars, but when time returns, Cars' wounds just heal back up as if nothing happened. He just laughs at Dio's terrible attempt to kill him, even with help. Dio would repeatedly just use time stop and attack Cars with all his might, but it will always be the same result with Cars healing back quickly. This will go on for a while until Dio is tired out, exclaiming on why he is so strong, as Cars just says because he's the ultimate life form, as he goes to beat on Dio, completely humiliating him the entire time, as Dio can't do nothing against Cars, as Dio would use the world once more and use the time to try and hide from Cars. Cars would be confused that Dio just disappeared as he walks around trying to look for Dio, as he gets to where there's multiple TVs, as his Hermit Purple would head to it as it connects to the TVs to reveal Dio's position, as this amazes Cars, and he just continues to act on. Cars would walk to Dio, acting like he doesn't know where Dio is, as he decapitates Dio's head clean off. Dio would be completely dumbfounded as he cursed Cars. Cars just picked up Dio's head, as he just laughed mocking him as Cars finished off Dio as Dio died, and had no way of killing Cars since Dio wouldn't really use tactics to outsmart Cars, as he would only try to overpower him, but that wouldn't be really possible. Now Cars has unlocked his own stand and could see other stands, so even if there were stand users trying to fight Cars, they would just end up dying. Now with that, Josuke wouldn't have existed and Morio would be doomed, but even at that point Cars would have killed everyone on the planet, so Parfar would also be non-existent, plus Giona wouldn't even be born. Alright, that's going to be the end of the bad ending. Now let's get into the good ending. Before we start the ending there's one thing we have to change for later on in the story. Before everyone left to go fight Cars, Joseph and Susie would have a one-night stand before Joseph leaves. Y'all will see where we're going with this later on in the story. We will go back to where Cars would end Joseph, but things would change there. Cars would cut off Joseph's hand as usual, and would cut his leg so that he would be stunned. Joseph would try to get up, but he can't as Cars just laughs at him. Cars would go to Joseph, about to end him, but then he thinks of a better idea. Cars would tell Joseph that he will let him live, but he will torture him for the rest of his life, as Cars would slice at Stroheim, killing him. Cars would pick up Joseph as he flies to the group. Everyone is confused on why Cars is bringing Joseph to them. Cars would throw Joseph in front of everyone and tell them that before he imprisons him, he will watch everyone he knows die. Cars would easily slay the entire German army with no problem, as the only ones left are Speedwagon, Lisa, and Smokey. Smokey would try to run away, but Cars would quickly end him, as Smokey would fall over. Joseph would be trying to get up, as he doesn't want to see everyone he cares for die, as he does nothing. Lisa, being the only fighter, would try to stop Cars, but with her previous injuries, she doesn't do as much. Speedwagon would punch Cars, which would lead to Cars slicing Speedwagon's hand off, as Cars would stab into his chest, finishing him off. Lisa would try to attack Cars, but Cars would grab her by the throat, as Joseph would be screaming out no, as Lisa would look at Joseph, telling him that to not blame himself for all this, as in her last dying breath, all Joseph could hear her saying was a faint JoJo, before Cars drops her lifeless body. Cars would just be laughing as Joseph is in a state of grief, being completely frozen, as Cars would take him as he imprisons him to torture him slowly throughout the rest of his life. As Cars would also begin killing everyone on the planet. Years would pass as Cars killed a good chunk of the population, but it was less since he spent more time torturing Joseph. But while Joseph was in prison, he would train his Hamon whenever the chance he gets, as he still plans to take out Cars, somehow. All the way in Japan, which is one of the few countries still remaining, Jotaro Kujo is still born since Joseph did have a kid with Suzy before he left to fight Cars. Now this Jotaro would know about Joseph and how Cars kidnapped him, and he wanted to do something about it, but he didn't do anything up until he saw that he kind of had a demon ghost-like figure that is around him, and this time he doesn't put himself in jail. Jotaro would be wondering what this figure ghost demon does, as it shows his incredible strength, speed, and precision. Jotaro would decide that he will finally save his grandfather from Cars, as he would leave without notifying Suzy or Holly. Over at Dio, it would be the same with the last scenario, with him building his followers, which would have the same members. During his adventure traveling, Jotaro arrives at a refugee camp, where many people who survive attacks from Cars stay at. Jotaro would look around, seeing all the people, as he sees a group of 3 people, as they also have ghost-like figures around them. One man wearing all red, one with reddish hair wearing a school uniform, and one with long, standing gray hair. Jotaro would approach the group, asking them about their ghosts following them, as the group would be shocked that someone else was able to see the ghost figures, as they would introduce themselves as Kakyoin, Polnareff, and Avdol, as they explain to Jotaro on what the ghost figure is and calls it a stand. They notify Jotaro on their plan to defeat Cars, and explain their backstory, as Polnareff wants to revenge because Cars is the reason his sister is dead, as Avdol barely survived his encounter with Cars as he was ashamed from running away, and Kakyoin as he was a survivor of his city being destroyed by Cars. As they all meet because they were all able to see each other's stand, as then they ask Jotaro for his stand, as he shows it to be Star Platinum. Jotaro would explain his reasoning for wanting to fight Cars and rescue his grandfather Joseph. They decide to stick together and continue their journey to fight Cars. Their journey would be pretty easy, not really having to fight anyone, and they are close to arriving to Cars' location when they meet up with Dio's huge group, as they have a little standoff. Dio would be looking at them menacingly, asking them what are they trying to do, as they reveal that they had the same goal of beating Cars. As they join forces, teaming on Cars, both the Stardust Crusaders and Dio's group enters Cars' domain, exploring the area, as Jotaro sees that one prisoner is in the building, and yes, it's Joseph. He does look similar to how he looked in part 2. He hasn't aged much since he's been using a lot of Hamon, which made him age slower, and he has scars all over his body. It's really bad. One hand is missing, and he looks very dirty and messy, like, he has probably like a full-grown beard or something like that, like someone who's been in prison for a long time. Jotaro would break Joseph out, explaining that he is his grandson and Joseph is shocked about the fact. But then they hear a battle raging out as they notice that Dio's group didn't stop, and Joseph would be shocked about hearing the name Dio, and will quickly warn Jotaro and tell him about Dio. He would explain the backstory from what Arena and Speedwagon told him, as he tells Jotaro that Dio was the great enemy of his grandfather Jonathan Joestar. He demands Jotaro to not let Dio figure out that he is a Joestar, but he also says that they need to eliminate both Cars and Dio. Joseph explains how Dio is much less threat than Cars, since he could die in sunlight, and he isn't immortal like Cars. The Stardust Crusaders are about to head out to take both of them out and tell Joseph to stay here, but Joseph gets up, refusing to stay behind, saying that he will help them out to redeem himself from his past failure. So all the Stardust Crusaders are back together, besides Iggy. He's probably living his life as a normal dog, just chilling. Or he's probably dead, either one. Hopefully he's just living his life as a normal dog, because, my boy Iggy deserved better. The group would arrive at the battle while Joseph hides so that Cars does not realize that Joseph escaped. Cars was able to kill off some of Dio's henchmen as the Stardust Crusaders began aiding Dio to take out Cars. Even with them joining forces, Cars is still able to hold them all off on his own. Dio then stops time as he approaches Cars, but then notices that Jotaro can move slightly, and this shocks him. Time will resume as everyone continues fighting Cars, but Dio would call over Jotaro, telling him that the news, as he believes that Jotaro has a much greater power within him. Jotaro wouldn't know what to do as he is confused on what Dio is talking about, but then he sees that Kakyoin is about to get killed, as this activates something in Jotaro as he calls out his stand, as time would be frozen, and this shocks Jotaro. But then he sees Dio rushing at cars as time would resume and cars would be pushed back, which saves Kakyoin. Dio would be using the world, punching cars repeatedly as JoJo would go to join him, as Dio and JoJo would both be doing a combination of auras and Muda, and send a barrage of punches to cars as they would both punch him so hard that he would go flying out of Earth's hemisphere. Everyone would be celebrating as the survivors of the Stardust Crusaders, Dio, Whole Horse, and Duel. JoJo would then look at the members of the Stardust Crusader group as JoJo would use Star Platinum to attack a weakened entire Dio and leaves a hole in his stomach, which would shock Whole Horse and Duel. But as soon as they get ready to attack, Avdol and Polnareff would subdue them. Dio would ask JoJo why did he backstab him, as Dio would use the world, but JoJo wouldn't be frozen as he starts beating on Dio until the time stop breaks, as Joseph would leap out shooting out his Hermit Purple to wrap around Dio's head as he charges it filled with Hamon, which would explode Dio's head, killing him for good. They would knock out Whole Horse and Duel as the group would celebrate the defeat of Dio and Cars, being about to bring the world back to normal. Now for the future parts, part 4 really wouldn't happen since Joseph never had Josuke, so Morio would just have a stand user murderer running around. Maybe the Stardust Crusaders will go in and, you know, take him out. If they do, I mean, like, it'll be pretty easy because there's all 5 of them, or all 4 of them. Altogether, none one is gone, so part 4 is just like no Josuke, but I mean they could take out Kira, and part 5 wouldn't be a thing since Italy could have perished even if it was standing. Still, the stand arrows wouldn't really be there. Plus no Giorno because Dio died earlier, so it would be like a more normal type mafia with less stands. But like I said, even if it, like, you know, Diavolo ended up getting the arrow or, you know, stuff like that, JoJo would still be there, kind of. You know, maybe the Stardust Crusaders also take... It would be like just the Stardust Crusaders taking out all the villains by themselves. But yeah, guys, what you think? This is my first JoJo What If. I thought it was okay. I liked how I made the 2 endings. How'd you think about that one? If, you know, a What If that had multiple endings. If you want us to do more like that, we could. But yeah, thank y'all so much for all the support. The next video we'll be working on the next special, so that, you know, for the celebration of the 2K subscribers. For that, thank y'all so much for all this support. We appreciate it that much. But yeah, tell me what y'all think about this What If, about JoJo What Ifs, or about how we did multiple endings. If you have a comment down below, if you want any other What Ifs you have an idea for, let us know, and we'll respond to you. But yeah, that's about it. Thank y'all so much for watching, and we'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.